Hello and welcome back. And with this video, we are going to start the senses of hearing and equilibrium. We're going to talk about the ear, specifically the external and middle ear in this video. So let's start first with the external ear, which is mostly this stuff that you see out here, okay? And the outer part, the part of the ear that you see, is known as the auricle or the pinna. It's your choice which term you want to use for it. And when you look at it, you notice it's not flat, but it's got a lot of curves, and some part also contains cartilage. So the part where people traditionally get first pierced, this is called the earlobe, or you can call it the lobule of the ear. Either name is appropriate. At the superior edge of the ear, however, we have this curved area that contains a lot of cartilage, elastic cartilage, and that is called the helix. And that's also a popular place for getting pierced. But now you're piercing through cartilage, which is a whole nother kettle of fish, because as you know, cartilage doesn't have a blood supply. Okay. Going back down towards the opening in the ear, we have a couple of curved areas. The curved area that's close to the attachment of your head and is quite firm because it also contains cartilage is known as the tragus. And then directly across from it, there is a soft piece of tissue that does not have cartilage, and that is known as the antitragus. And with that, we are done with the structures of the auricle or the pinna. And now we're going to move in the opening, which actually is going to create a tunnel through the temporal bone. And so the first part of this is going to be called the external auditory canal. And this is where you get swimmer's ear, an infection in this part of your ear. On the end of the external ear is the next structure, which is known as the eardrum. So it's kind of the dividing line between external and middle ear. And that structure's real name is known as the tympanic membrane. As you can see from the picture on the left, it's kind of cone-shaped like this. And from the picture on the right, that's the view your doctor has when they take the otoscope and they look in your ear. This is what they like to see because it's quite beautiful. As you can see, it's clear, it's not looking inflamed, there's no redness. And you can see two little areas where it looks like something's pushing at it from behind, and that's because there's a bone that attaches there in those two places. One of those little ear bones we're going to talk about in about 10 seconds or so. So with that, we are done with the external ear and we're moving into the middle ear. Now the middle ear is an air-filled space inside the temporal bone, but inside this temporal bone, we have three tiny little bones. And so those three tiny little bones are called the ear ossicles, which just means ear bones. So I put them here so you clearly can see them and compare them to the size of your finger as well as a dime. And so they're always in this same direction because there are certain parts of each bone that articulates with the next bone, which we'll look at as we continue through the middle ear. So the most external of the three bones is called the malleus, which is named for a mallet, which is kind of like a hammer with a big head on it instead of a claw and a little metal ball in there. And so on the malleus, this part is considered the handle, and it's the handle in two places, right here and right there, that are going to be attaching to the tympanic membrane. Now the head of the malleus is going to articulate with the next bone, and that next bone is called the incus. The incus is described as being shaped like an anvil. So if you know what an anvil is, that helps you, and if you don't, that's not helping you at all. It's kind of this irregular, kind of triangular shape with some processes sticking out. An anvil is what they used to make horseshoes on back in the 1800s and early 1900s. And so one end of the incus articulates with the malleus, and another end articulates with the third bone, which is known as the stapes. And the stapes is described as shaped like a stirrup. So you have this part up here, let me make it where you can see it, And then down below, you have the foot plate of the stapes. So if you were horseback riding, you would put your foot in the space between the two, and the sole of your foot would rest on the foot plate. Now that foot plate is oval shaped, which is very important because that oval foot plate actually fills the space which is the dividing line between the middle ear and the inner ear. And because it is oval, that opening between the middle ear and the inner ear is called the oval window. So if you look at the top right picture, you can see tympanic membrane around 7 o'clock, then you have the malleus, you have the incus, and then you have the stapes turned so that its foot plate is the furthest deep of everything, and that is the oval window. Now, if you took a model of the inner ear, which is what the bottom structure is, and I know you don't know what it is yet because we haven't discussed it, but you will shortly. On the inner ear, you can see the oval depression, which is where the foot plate of the stapes would fit. And so that is the oval window. Now, just a few millimeters below, inferior to the oval window, is another opening between the middle and inner ear that is not oval in shape, but is round shape. So it is called the round window. And the round window has nothing to do with the stapes. Okay, when we learn about hearing, we will understand its function. So there's only one more structure in the middle ear, and that is a tube which on one end connects to that air-filled space in the middle ear, and the other end of it connects to the back of your throat or your pharynx. And so this tube is called the pharyngotympanic tube, which is a lot of letters, so most students opt to calling it the Eustachian tube. So if you've ever gone on an airplane or gone skiing up the mountain or even driven up the mountain or gone scuba diving and you feel the need for your ears to pop, what you are doing when you are swallowing or eating or chewing your gum is you are taking this pharyngotympanic tube, which has collapsed down on itself, and you're opening it so air can travel between the pharynx, which is open to the outside, and the middle ear, which was not open to the outside. And so as soon as that Eustachian tube gets open, your ear pops because the pressure between everything equalizes. And with that, we are done with structures of the external and middle ear, and we will return back for the last structures of the special senses, and that is going to be structures of the inner ear. So I'll see you shortly, and thank you once again for all your hard work.